let's have one more song for the highway. One more song for that lonesome road. Let's have one more beer before we get us out of here. Let's have one more song for the road. You know I sure miss you, honey.
Now I'm a concrete cowboy going with the city.
Hey, how y'all doing there? So, welcome back to another Tales from the Road here. This one is one of our most recent adventures. Y'all know I was running this produce down here, running dedicated to Atlanta for a while, and then I got off of that a little bit, ended up running some St. Louis and stuff, and then so I was over there, and the office called there, and they're like, hey, we got a job offer for you, pays $20 an hour for all hours, and you'll be home every night, and or mostly every night, and you just, drive out to places out in, say Pennsylvania or Ohio, New York, and stuff. And anyway, it's $20 an hour for all the time that you're gone, everything. So it sounds good, so. And I was like, well, that sounds good, be home every day and everything. You've had to try, and so I said, well, what's involved with this, And he's like, well, you're hauling grain to farms, and they said it's real easy, every farm has a dock, and you just back up to the dock, and we'll give you a pallet jack, and you'll just, pull the feed off, and, put it wherever the farmer wants it. And, some days you might have one drop, sometimes you might have two or three. It just depends on every day is different. So I'm like, well, that sounds pretty good. So anyway, so I signed up for it anyway, and to get to so I get to my first day, and after I get back to Ohio and everything, get to my first day, and I go and I pick up my load, and I got two drops. One is up in Pennsylvania, or no, I got two. I think they were both in New York is what it was, or one was in Pennsylvania and New York. Anyway, they're up on the I-90, up that way. So anyway, I hook up, and for what I see is okay. Well, first of all, anyway, I get to my first stop, and it's a Amish farmhouse, and you gotta blindside in off the road, come up this driveway, and the driveway is sloped like uphill. So my trailer, is like up here. When I'm done, my trailer is like this up again, and there's no dock. There's just a barn door down there. Well, they sent a ramp, a loading ramp, one of those 20 freaking foot loading ramps, so you got to drag this loading ramp off and run it down to the ground and run inside the barn there, so I'm thinking, well, first of all, alright, so this is the first indication that something is not something right here. So alright, well, now these pallets of feed are 6 pound. There's 12 of them stacked up on these little mini, like half plastic pallet looking things that sit about this far off the ground. Okay, so there's no way to even get a pallet jack underneath of them. They ship you this, basically a dolly. It's a dolly with the little forks underneath of it that flip down, and you pick it up and you lean back, and you pull it out that way. So I'm like, okay, so now I'm like, what the hell? And here I am sitting on this freaking, So anyway, I start talking to the guy, find out where he wants these pallets, and where he wants the feed. Like they have straw and hay bales wrapped up in plastic, which it's nothing. But so I'm like, okay. So find out where he wants them. So I go, and then to start with this thing, and I get it, and I thought, well, you know, so I get in and I start pulling back, and I'm like, "Ugh," you know, like, dang, you know, pulling uphill. This thing's heavy. So I try to, you know, I flip it around and go to push it, and as soon as I turn it around and go to push it, I start going backwards, like, "Ah!" Like it's pushing me back. I'm like, oh, this ain't gonna work. So I flip it around, you know, and I start going backwards, and I'm just pulling with everything I got, and to pull this freaking thing up, and I get it to the ramp, and I'm down the, you know, and I walk it down the ramp, okay, into the barn, and then I go and I set the thing up, boom, oh, everywhere, man. I'm like, oh shit, you gotta be kidding me. These are 50 pounds each one of these is a 50-pound sack of feed, you know. So I'm stacking them back up, trying to push them in there, you know. This happens a couple times, so if I'm like, well, I'm not doing something right here. So I had to walk out into the field, track down the farmer, tell him what's going on. I'm like, man, you gotta show me how to use this thing, because I'm not doing something right. So he comes, you know, and he shows me, you know, he's like, here, you got to go like this, and then, you know, when you get it, you know, done, you kick this thing back, and it'll lean back. And or first of all, he said you got to take the pallets, and when you stack them up, he said you got to push them, just, you know, just push them in there, and then it'll stand up, and then you kick it back and release the dolly. So I'm okay. So I got that, you know, so I'm all going and going, you know, and every time, man, I'm like, I just take a break, and I'm like, I got Gatorade and Powerade like crazy, you know, and this is getting harder and harder, you know, and then finally I'm like, man, my muscles and stuff are killing me. I'm like, you know, so and the deal was with this place is that, you know, the driver always has to unload. Well, the guy that was working for the company had been there for like 15 years doing this, and then the company moved, and he didn't want to move with them, so we kind of ended up with it. But so anyway, so I go out and I go down to the yard there where all the Amish ladies are and stuff, and I try to say, hey, I said, this is my first day I've ever done anything like this. I said, I need some help, or I'm not gonna be able to get this done. I mean, you know, that's just, I was just thinking about, I was physically incapable of doing this, and I'm like, I got to get through this day. So, you know, so they're like, well, we don't have anybody here except for, you know, this one little guy there. He's like, well, I'll help you, you know, and he's like, little 8-year-old boy, you know, and I know this is embarrassing. I shouldn't even be telling y'all this, but this is what this little 8-year-old boy, he's like, I'll help you. So I'm like, I'm thinking, oh God, you know, I'm like, seriously, what's this kid gonna do? But hey, it's all I got. So he comes, and I grab it, and then he grabs it, and, you know, and we both pull, and actually, I'm thinking, this kid, for a little boy, man, he was pretty strong. Between the two of us, man, we were able to start moving these, you know, so we start moving these pallets and everything around, and you know, I kept having to stop, take a break, you know, I'm freaking chugging Gatorade, everything else, you know, sweat's pouring down me, and he's just like he never even broke a sweat, you know. He's drinking soda out of a can. I'm like, how are you drinking soda at a time like this, man? He just, poor guy, his little guy, he never even broke a sweat, man. He's just like, what? You know? What the hell? And, so, I finally got we about got all done. And I started realizing, we're going to run out of room. We're not going to have enough room, you know? So the farmer, then finally is, you know, the farmer, the boy's dad, he comes back in, and he's like, oh, no, you got it. He's like, you got it set up all wrong. And so I had to take everything that I just unloaded and rearrange it in this little tiny area in his barn there, you know, and rework it again, and then I'll finish up there, you know. So anyway, I was there for like 5 hours, and then I had to go to Romulus, New York, to the next farm, which was, God, another 3 hours or 3 or 4 hours down the road, you know. So I'm like, shoot, man. And so anyway, by the time I get to Romulus, anyway, it's like 10 o'clock at night. I'm exhausted, and I go to the address that's on the, I just go to the address that's on the bills, you know, and I pull up, and it's right in front of a house, you know, and so I'm like, you know, set the brakes, get out. So I know I'm not unloading here. Let me find out what's going on, and, you know, I just see this guy comes out, you know, and he's like, oh, okay, yeah, he told me he's like, they told me you was running a little late. He said, but this ain't the farm. He's like, so follow me, and he's about, you know, it's about a mile or two back up the road there at the highway you just came off of. So he opts in his pickup, I follow him back up there. So anyway, get to so we get to this. Like I said, I'm just completely exhausted just from the first stop, and I said, we got to get this done, you know. And so this guy here, he's really not supposed to help me either, but he can tell me, this is my first day, man, it's been a rough day, and so he just wanted to get it over with. So I back up, and as soon as I open the doors and I back up to the dock, and, you know, we pull out the ramp and everything, we look up there, oh man, like there's like 3 or 4 rows of this feed. I mean, I took the wood, I braced it up, I, you know, did everything, and it fell over anyway, and all that weight just knocked the low bar right out of the way. So they had feed everywhere. So right then he was already getting angry. He's like, oh, well, you gotta be kidding me, you know. So we take them, and we're stacking them up on back up. Him and this other boy that was helping him was there, and they're stacking them up, you know. And so I get under my first one, and I grab it, you know, and I'm thinking, well, doing the same thing as I was doing, just got in the habit of pulling them backwards down the ramp. Well, the other guy's ramp was kind of not, it seemed like, I guess it wasn't as steep. I was able to just kind of, it was more just a little short walk, you know, so walked it down there. And anyway, so I grabbed my first one, and I'm walking it back just like I did in the other one, and I get to the ramp, and I go boop, right over the lip. As soon as I went over that lip, that cart just took off, man. It's like down the ramp I go, man. I'm like, I'm running back. Ah! I get to the bottom of the ramp. You know, this thing is out of control. I hit the bottom of the ramp. Boom! It just falls over. I mean, I fall backwards. The cart, like, I fall backwards. The cart almost runs over top of me. Feed just goes everywhere. And the farmer flips his wig, man. He's like, what the? Yeah, you kidding me? You're fucking, well, yeah, you know, he just gone off like, F this and F that. You know, you're an idiot, whatever. And I'm like, oh my God, man. So anyway, he's like, I pick all the bags up, and I stack them back up on top of the pallet real quick. I'm nervous, you know, and everything. So I pick them up, I get under it, I go to pick it up, falls over again. Now he really flips out. He's like, just get out of the way. So I take all this stuff and move it, and I'm gonna stack it up again real nice, you know, trying to, like, oh my God. And I see him coming down he's coming down the ramp, you know, from behind the right way. I was like, oh, I came down the wrong way, huh? And he's like, yeah, you damn sure did. I'm like, oh my God, dude. And so I got, you know, we finally got all that mess cleaned up and everything, and I helped them, and each time I made sure that I went down that way, and I was just hit it, and it was like, I hit it, and I was like, running. I mean, it was still flying, but I was behind it, you know. And he's like, you know, that thing has a brake on it. You don't have to kill yourself, you know. But it seemed like I couldn't do it, because every time I tried to, the brake was right here, but it seemed like I wasn't able to hold the brake and hold the thing at the same time. So I just said to hell with it, and I just let her fly. And I was right behind, you know. And then when I hit the bottom, I was able to slow them down. So, anyway, it just, the day was a nightmare for me. It's like, this is not exactly the job description that I was given. that I signed up for. So I'm like, so I got out of there, and like 11 o'clock at night, I got out of there, and you know, I freaking called Josh over there at home. Both got him out of bed at 11 o'clock at night. I'm like, dude, I am done with this job. He's like, okay. I said, man, that ain't me. I said, I am done with this job. So anyway, he's like, well, I need you to do it tomorrow at least. He's like, so I get somebody else in there. But he's like, tomorrow's all on pallets, and we went and bought an electric pallet jack, and come back to the yard. We'll pick up electric pallet jack, take this out to Pennsylvania, and unload it, with that, and then come back. And so I'm like, oh, okay, you sure? He's like, yeah, I got the email here. It says they're all on pallets. I'm like, all right. So I went, and anyway, the next day, so I went back. I went back to the service plaza, and I just parked my truck on the end, wherever, and I passed out. I didn't show up back to the place in Ohio, the feed place, till like 11 o'clock the next morning. And, I grabbed that trailer, went out to Pennsylvania to the Amish farm, and then went back to the yard, after I picked up the load, I picked up the pallet jack, this brand new electric jack, and I went out to the farm there, and it was another Amish guy, but he had a nice little dock built in there, and and they were all on big pallets because he ordered them that way. And the guys who have enough room or whatever, or have a dock, they can order them that way. So anyway, I finished up there, and that was real easy, and I headed back to the place there, and went back the next morning, went ahead and loaded up the next days and got it loaded, and then the other guy came over and relayed, and I guess he's still doing it. He's been doing it for a few weeks now, so he likes it, but of course he had already done it in the past. He had done it before, so he pretty much knew what it was all about. So he was a bigger fella than me, so he had a little more push, I guess, for him. So anyway, here I am. I'm back on the road, over the road again, as usual. I've been, trying dedicated and regional and local and all this, and I always end up back over the road. So I guess I'll just stay here and be happy. So, alright, well, y'all take care, and thanks for watching. We'll catch you next time.